Well, hello, everyone. It is November the 14th. We are here to get your college football day started. We got a lot of postponed games. My good friend here, Mr. Justin Hicks, who's been awesome on the show so far. So how you doing, brother?
I'm great, Tommy D. Every time you tell me that, my head and my heart just swell up so good. I love it, man.
Hell yeah.
Glad to be here another week, brother.
Yeah, I'm glad we got some games from all these cancellation and postpone. So we're going to cover up a little bit of last week's really quick, do a quick recap. And I'm in the wrong damn week as usual. That's just what I do, guys. I like to make you wait because I'm sleeping this morning. I'm half asleep still. It's been week 10, not week 11.
Plus, that's what college football has made us do a lot this year.
Hey, man, it's 2020. We all slipping.
That's right, man. We're gonna.
I mean, even the Corona slipping, it couldn't even take Saban out. So I mean, like sometimes it slips. So, you know, Saban's such a champion. He got in Saban's system, and it was like, well, we ain't beating this guy.
Yeah, he found the cure basically when it hit him. It wouldn't surprise me.
What's up, Moose Man? Or Gene?
Moose Man.
I don't know if that dude ever freaking sleeps, man. It seems like every time, no matter how early or how late I'm online, there's Gene. So I don't think the dude ever sleeps, man.
Right. He don't. That's that Canadian. Oh God, I was trying to make an alcohol joke. When you don't drink much, what is that? Canadian Mist. The Canadian
Mist.
That's not it. That's a pop or something, isn't it? Grey Goose.
Grey Goose. No, Canadian Mist is a liquor too, but it's
okay.
It's a joke liquor. You can about drinking out of the bottle. I mean, it's got some alcohol in it though.
Maybe he's got to slip through Canadian Mist all day and hit the goose at night.
The first game I got up from last week is Clemson at number 4 Notre Dame. I think just about me, Justin, Will, all of us was wrong. We all went with Clemson on this, even though Clemson's backup was out with COVID. Notre Dame gets this done 47-40 over the number 1 team in the nation in the second overtime. But I can't take too much away from that backup, man. That backup still looked good.
He did phenomenal, Tommy. Really, I mean, I hate to knock on his low points because he had a lot of bright spots. He was just Notre Dame's defense proved to be a little too tough. Really, Notre Dame should have ran away with it when you look at the lead they got early. A couple turnovers and DJ. I still can't pronounce his last name.
Oh my God, I'm gonna try it. I might butcher the shit out of it, but it's Yugi. No, I'm not going to. That's like a hockey name. He should be playing hockey or something, man.
We'll call him DJ. We'll call him DJU.
Yeah, DJU. He had 439 passing yards.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and Williams, that was a rushing leader in this, who had 140. I mean, Clemson still looked okay. I just feel like you said, Notre Dame about handed it back to them. I mean, they were pretty much on them, and then they kind of slowed their pace a lot. I don't know why. I don't know if Clemson started clicking on to what they were doing, or if Notre Dame just felt like they had them, and they kind of started laying off of them a little bit. But I ain't gonna lie, I wanted Notre Dame to beat them, and I can't stand. I hate both these teams. I'll be honest with you.
Same, and
but
I'm in the same boat.
I like upsets. I'm an underdog person. That's why I'm an Auburn fan. There's no, I mean, I like underdog teams. So, and this one, Notre Dame was definitely the underdog, even though Clemson had a backup. Next up, you had Rutgers and Ohio State. Ohio State hangs 49 on Rutgers. Justin Fields with 314 yards. Justin Fields possibly could be the number 1 or number 2 quarterback. Number 3. To me, it's you got Clemson's quarterback. And then you got Tass down in Florida, and you got Fields. To me, them are probably the best 3 quarterbacks that I've seen so far in college football, in my opinion. Now, I've not watched everyone, but I have watched those 3, and out of those 3, it's a tough choice because each one of them's got their own little thing about them I like.
I would honestly probably have to go with you because Trask is on pace to set all kinds of records, and he quietly, because we haven't thought of Florida as a big-time powerhouse in a while since the Tebow years, Urban. And now, we'll obviously get into their game in a minute. But it's hard to rank those guys. I've always thought Trevor and Justin Fields, but can't really argue with that top 3 there.
Yeah. If there's someone else, I might have just overlooked them. It's definitely not the quarterback of this next team. As you mentioned, Florida and Georgia. I took Florida. I can't remember who you took. Did you take?
I took Georgia. I thought that defense was picking. It's George Pickens as the receiver, even though their quarterback play isn't great.
Right.
I really thought they'd have some leadership and stuff, but man, they looked. Florida just looked better. I didn't even watch the game till the 4th quarter, but I wasn't too shocked. But then again, I was. It really made me realize Florida's for real.
Yeah, I think they just had a slipping moment in that one loss that they had. So Florida hangs 44 on the Bulldogs, 44-28. That's the number 5 team who dropped. So you had the number 1 team that lost, and also the number 5 team that lost this past week. So that's going to move some teams on up. It moves some teams on up. So next up, you had Houston and the Bearcats. We was wanting to watch this one because we're kind of on the Bearcat train a little bit with them because they're at number 6. So they hung 38 on Houston. Bearcats are looking good, man. I'm not going to say that they're going to run the table, but they're going to be trouble for someone. They're going to throw a chink in one of these big teams' chain. I feel like maybe they'll make it to the playoffs, and someone thinks they're not going to make it past that point. They're going to go in there and they're going to beat a big Georgia or someone like that, and no one's going to see it coming. So
yeah, I want to get into a little bit of that conversation later because I actually have a question about a couple teams and they're in the conversation. But I'm with you, Tommy. I mean, they haven't even played a close game yet. They're up there. They're up there with Marshall, who I think Marshall's closest game has been a 10-point win against Appalachian State, and Cincinnati's done even better. They even made SMU, who's lost 1 game, look terrible. And SMU's pretty good now. I mean, only the one.
Yeah, well, everybody knows if you've watched college football any other years, SMU versus Cincinnati would have been a game. It would have been very, very, very close. They would have won. That's just how, because both of them always have struggled some. So,
right.
Cincinnati does look very good. Next up, Texas A&M versus South Carolina. Texas A&M murders the Gamecocks 48-3. I'm not even going to break that game down. Neither one of those teams matter because one's on probation, the other one don't have the wins to go nowhere. Next up, Stanford and Oregon. This is pack play. Well, we finally got to see. Oregon hung 35 up on Stanford. I went with Stanford in this damn game, thinking they was going to upset Oregon, but I was wrong.
Same. I did too.
Michigan versus Indiana. Well, it is official. I mean, Indiana kind of ain't playing around. They beat Michigan 38-21. I believe I called this one.
You did.
One of my upsets.
You did. And I have a question for you. I know we'll get into it. Is this? I know we'll get into Indiana some more in a minute. Well, both these teams, because they both play today. Unlike many of these teams we've mentioned, there's a lot of postponements. Is this an indication of Michigan being that, not that great, or Indiana being for real this year, Indiana being really good, or a little bit of both, a little mixture.
Oh man, that's hard to call because you would think by now, and I've said it 100 times, you would think by now that Michigan would have a good team. Like they would be on their way to a national championship by now. Harbaugh's had all the years that I think that he just about needs. In my opinion, if I'm a Michigan fan, I'm looking to boot him out. You know, he's not did shit. I don't give a damn what anybody says. I don't care where he coached at before. He's not. What is it? Has he even beat Ohio State since he's been there?
He is not.
See, so there you go. That's like Auburn and Alabama there with them two. So like you got to beat your rival. So if you not beat Ohio State, I know he ain't won no Big Ten championship. I don't think since he's been there. So
I don't think he's even played in one, Tommy, in this many years, or 5-6 years.
He keeps them about where they was before he got there. They stay in about the top 25 somewhere. They'll fall in at 17 or something, and then they usually end up losing and they're out. But usually the next season when they come back in because of recruiting, they're back up at 17 or 16 or whatever the case may be, and then they get beat back out. So I don't see what he's doing there. I mean, I'll say fire the guy. If you're losing to Indiana, now I know Indiana might have a good team this year, but it's freaking Indiana. You're Michigan.
I'm with you.
You're the Wolverines. I mean, you're right there in that recruiting base with Ohio State a lot of years. Why are you losing to Indiana?
That's the first time, Tommy, they've lost to Indiana since 1987.
1987 or so. It's time to bye-bye, Jim.
I mean, that in itself shows something ain't right. Even if Indiana's righted the ship, Michigan's definitely going the other way. And I didn't watch it, but I talked to a Michigan fan, a relative of mine who goes to games and all that. He wants Jim gone, like no question. He's with you, so that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, God, I hope Auburn don't hire his ass. Next up, we got Oklahoma State, number 14, Oklahoma State against K-State. Oklahoma State squeezed this one by 20-18. Oklahoma State is not looking as good as I originally thought they were going to look at the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. Next up, South Alabama against the underdogs of the year, Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina gets another win. They're still undefeated. Number 15 in the nation. The team next is another argument for the same thing, UMass and the Thundering Herd of Marshall. Marshall gets that one done, 51-10 for UMass. I hope nobody picked UMass in that one because I bet you was heartbroken because that was ugly.
Well, going in, something about I think the last time Marshall won 10 or 11 games or whatever it was in their season, Western Kentucky beat them, and they had a great season. It was 2014, I think, 2014 or 2015. And this just feels again like either they're going to lose they're going to mess up and lose a game. I mentioned Appalachian State, or they're going to run the table. And I really see them run the table because I don't see anybody on their way, unless, again, there's some kind of slip up. That defense is just too much. And Brendan Knox, the running back's doing phenomenal. He had a 50-yard touchdown last week, rushing touchdown. And Grant Wells doesn't turn the ball over. So if you're not doing that, you're going to win.
Yeah, very true. It's nice to see Marshall back up to the glory, have a little bit of glory for themselves. I know a lot of people might not think so. I mean, and some people haven't even watched the damn movie. You know, I mean, We Are Marshall, but people tend to forget that schools like Marshall used to dominate football. You know, they used to be a big competition. I mean, they used to be a worrisome when you had to play them. And they haven't been for many years, but it's nice seeing them doing something again. Next up, you got Baylor and Iowa State. Iowa State squeezed this one out over Baylor. I can't remember who I went with in this one. But it's 38-31.
I think you picked Iowa State.
I think I did, just because Baylor had let me down like the week or two before.
That's what it was. That was your reasoning. You were sick of Baylor.
I was sick of Baylor.
Like I've been for 5 years.
Almost like I'm sick of ECU. Every time I pick them, it flips against me. And if I don't pick them, they beat the team I picked against them.
Right.
Next up, you got number 18, SMU at Temple. SMU hangs 47 on Temple. Kansas, Oklahoma. Oklahoma hangs 62 on Kansas, 62-9. Oh, poor Kansas. Next up, you got Arizona State and USC. USC wins this game by 1 point, 28-27. I watched some of this game. It was actually kind of decent.
Yeah.
This is one of them later games too. That was on like at I think 8, 9 o'clock or something. Next up, you got West Virginia at Texas. This was a very dogfight type of game. Yeah. They don't like each other anyway as it is. But West Virginia drops this one to the Longhorns, 13-17. West Virginia is still trying to find that stride. Texas is not that good anyway. But next up, you got the talk of the town. Another team that's the talk of the town is Liberty. Liberty and Virginia Tech. Liberty squeezes one out over Virginia Tech, 38-35. This just goes to show me that Liberty is not going to make it much farther through the year without getting a loss. So,
well, I want to throw something up. If you could check their schedule, we'll wait till we get into that game. But they play another team that is in the top 15, Tommy. That's going to be a trap game for somebody. But yeah, I mean they handled themselves. We'll see how far they can go. This is another. We got a lot of Cinderellas in 2020.
It seems like it. Also, Freeze has signed an extension with Liberty, so we all know, like guys who watch a lot of football, especially do a lot of the inside stuff like me and Justin does. We know that that's a trap for. That's a reason for him deciding that extension. He knows that other teams are going to come at him, so he go ahead and signs that extension, and then it takes more money to lure him away.
Making him a sexier, coaches. I hate saying this. Hugh Freeze can smile all he wants, but he knows what he's doing.
He does. For those who don't know, Justin hates Hugh Freeze. Next up, South Florida and Memphis. This is a scrub game, but Memphis gets it done 34-33. All right, looks like a bunch of these are not even ranked. We're not even going to go over them. Let's see. Where's another one that was ranked? Nope, none of those are ranked. Okay, now let's go on to the current. While we flip over to current, let's go ahead and take our first commercial break real quick.
So bad outside the bar, heading out as far away I can. Heart is pounding, got so damn out of hand. Doing 90 through the city night. Nothing's ever gonna be alright. Life will never be what it was. Hands are shaking, 'cause now my future is crashing down on me. They try to kill me when I fought back. Break the scars with a baseball bat. The justice will never make this right. I need to run and stay out of sight. And no choice, it was me or them. Now for a lifetime I'm condemned. I can forget my old set way of life. I go to prison or die.
That is the Total Nonstop Podcast. Catch it through Pinfall every Thursday at 8 o'clock Central Time. Speaking of it, I got a little bit of news for the Total Nonstop Podcast. I'm going to be stepping away some from it because I've got my hands in so many cookie jars. Mr. Gene Emerson is going to take over for me. I'm going to let him take over and kind of do his own thing and try to help him out when I can. Might pop up here and there. Josh is going to pop up here and there. And a few other guys might pop up here and there. So everybody knows I got a lot of other stuff going on right now. We'll talk about that later when I run that commercial. All right, let's go ahead and we're at Thursday, November 10th. We had some games. Really wasn't no one important. You had like Akron and Ohio, teams like that. Ohio wins that one. You had Kent State and Bowling Green. Bowling Green drops that one to Kent State. Miami and Ohio. Miami of Ohio is how they say that. So you don't get confused. Buffalo. Buffalo actually wins this one 42-10. I wouldn't have guessed that one. I'd have probably went with Miami, Ohio on that one, but
I would too. The MAC, I guess, has decided because they started later. Also, I think this is just their second week playing. but they're playing on Wednesday nights and going
there
up.
ain't nothing on Wednesdays, no ways. That's almost. I mean, besides like if you're a wrestling fan, other than that, there's nothing on Wednesdays.
And who's a wrestling fan nowadays?
I mean, who watches that crap these days? I mean, there's still. Wait, let me do it like this. There's still grown men that watches wrestling. As Jake looks over my shoulder back here, and Mark Henry behind me.
No, but seriously, it's not a terrible thing that they're doing, especially because obviously we watch it, but not everybody for flipping through the channels, and it's on for a couple hours, man. So even before your AEW and NXT, you might catch a good game, and I kind of like what the MAC's doing just to play a little bit of catch up because they're trying their best. That's all you can say.
Well, I mean that's pretty smart too because the average football fan on Saturday is not going to watch a MAC game.
Exactly.
They're going to watch bigger games. I know I would. I'll watch any kind of college football, but on Saturday when we start talking ranked teams are playing, I'm not worried about what the MAC's doing because usually they're not ranked. So
right.
Next up, you also had Eastern Michigan and Ball State. Ball State gets this one done over EMU, 38-31. Toledo and Western Michigan. Western Michigan 41, Toledo 38, and Central Michigan and Northern Illinois. Central Michigan 40 and Northern Illinois 10. Northern Illinois, I remember being good. Like what was that? Like 6 years ago or something? 7 years ago or something.
It seems like not that. Yeah. You're right. I mean, I think they're the Northern Illinois Huskies or something. I remember the old college football games, Tommy. I don't know if you did this. I always loved starting off small.
I did too. I did too. I would always go to some shitty college that was somewhere like in the swag or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Now, that was back when we had a bunch of conferences. Remember the conferences used to be?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We used to have like, what was it, 10 of them or some kind of crazy number or something before they brought some of them together. I would always go to a UAB type or something like that and work my way up and then end up to I got to the point where I was getting offers like Michigan jobs and,
that was so fun, man. It's the best part of the game.
I miss it. God, I miss it. It drives me crazy, man. Like some people just don't get it who never played those games, who ain't sports fans, but like the college football, they're like, well, they got Madden. I'm like, it's not the same.
The recruiting, recruiting alone. I hate saying this. I was in college when the last college football game came out. I spent way more time recruiting this 5-star quarterback than I ever did, and he wound up coming, thank God. But I mean, it was so much fun, like you said. It's
so bad. It's so bad to the point I got the itch for it so bad. I'm like this close to buying a PS3.
Yeah,
just so I can play the damn game. The game is so outdated; it's unreal.
Well,
but when you flip through Facebook, there's so many people that are still playing it to this day.
Yeah,
and it just blows me away. People are still playing it like that.
That's how great it was. Though.
Yes, it was. It's the best. It's the best football game that was ever made, man. There's just no. I have never played nothing. Madden kind of gets itches that scratch just a little bit because now they've added those college teams in there.
Yeah.
To the Madden, but you only get to play it for like one season, and it's only like 4 or 5 little games, and you're only the quarterback. You know what I mean? So
that's a glimmer of hope, though.
I hope, man. That's what I hope, man. Ever since I've been saying that, I'm like, maybe, just maybe, they can make another one. The rumors go around a lot. One of the rumors I've heard too is EA Sports have got their fingerprint, trying to get their hands on the copyrights.
Yeah.
So they can make one. And I mean, not EA Sports, but 2K, because EA 2 originally made it. Yeah. But 2K, but that makes me worried because everybody knows the 2K wrestling games bombed because they were so bad with graphics and stuff.
The graphics, yeah. And they have, they have the basketball and golf now, actually. So I guess they do all right. But sorry for throwing off.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. I'm pretty sure that everybody who's just about watches college football has probably even played those games at least once, or at least checked them out. So next up, you had Colorado State and Boise State. Boise State puts 52 on Colorado State. They win that one. Friday's matchups were East Carolina and Cincinnati. Cincinnati 55, ECU 17. As we talked before, the Bearcats number 7 in the nation. They stay undefeated here. Florida Atlantic and Florida International. Florida Atlantic drops this one, right? No. I'm sorry. Florida Atlantic wins this one 38-19 over Florida International. Got at the F's in there. It got me confused.
Yeah, they're very similar.
Yeah. Iowa and Minnesota here. Iowa wins this one 35-7 over Minnesota. I would have picked probably Iowa in this game, even though I didn't make any picks on this one. But Minnesota with another loss after we thought they might be a team this year that was going to upset a lot of teams, maybe even possibly some thought they could make a playoff run. So not going to happen.
Tommy, I wonder if that is the big mainly with Minnesota. I wonder if this is some kind of just where they haven't got to play,
It could be too, but they also lost some players I know from last year too.
Well, yeah, you're right.
And that coach, you know how it is. That coach probably come in. He's not been there long. I know he's not been there long. So some of them players were probably still not his players. And he just learned. He just kind of made what he had with what he had. And sometimes that works. Sometimes better than actually recruiting good players. Because then sometimes these players have these like this, our backs against the wall mortality, and they play a whole lot harder than they usually do.
And kind of this guy came here for us or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. I get
what
you're saying.
It's like Auburn. I hate every year that Auburn's ranked. I hate when they put us in the ranking at the preseason. If they put us at anywhere above number 19, I get aggravated because usually that's when we come out and we lose the first 4 games. Every time. Wow. If they don't rank us and no one's speaking about us, then next thing you know, I'll look when we're 8-0. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, yeah. But if someone starts talking about how good we might possibly be, dude, every time we bomb, man, it's like we are the biggest choke artists about that stuff.
Well, in West Virginia, they seem to do that every year. We'll start off 1-5, and just try not to embarrass yourself out there.
Speaking of Virginia, but Virginia Tech instead, they play number 9 Miami today. I got Miami getting this one done over Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's not very good. Miami still got some work to do, but not as much as Virginia Tech does.
Virginia Tech, losing to Liberty. Virginia Tech's lost a couple vital games. I did want to say Derek King, man, depending on how this plays out, because as we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of games that are off today. So he's kind of like a dark horse Heisman candidate. 1,831 yards, 143 for 224 passing completions, basically 64% completion rating, 16 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. So that's 4-1 right there for Derek King. And he's a real bright, shining spot on that team. And we'll see what he does today against Virginia Tech. I'm actually very interested to watch him.
Me too. Next up, you got number 10 Indiana at Michigan State on ABC, 11 a.m. kickoff time. I have to go with Indiana in this one. Michigan State's look like bad this year. They're not looking like I thought they might. Indiana's shocking everyone right now after that big win, like we just talked about a while ago, coming off playing Michigan. As you said, they haven't beat Michigan since 1987. So I don't know when the last time it is they beat Michigan State is, but I promise you they don't beat Michigan State often. It's kind of like when they're playing Michigan. Indiana's usually not very good in football, so I want the Hoosiers to run the conference up there. Hell with it. I hate Ohio State. They're the only other good team left. So
when you look at who they had to face, we thought Penn State was going to be better. Obviously, we thought Michigan. This was their year.
I thought Michigan State would be decent, better than what they are.
I really did too. You were the one that told me. Is it Mel Tucker is the coach there now?
Yeah, I think so.
Mark D'Antonio left, so they're in kind of a transition. But I still thought they were going to be much better. But yeah, man, if they win this, they're going to be 3-0 or 4-0. I think 4-0. But
that would don't tell me here.
but they're going into the Ohio State game next week. That's they've had the toughest first 4 or 5 games than anybody, and they've come out looking like a diamond each time.
Yeah.
So Indiana's gaining traction and fans.
Next up, you got Middle Tennessee at number 16, Marshall. 11 a.m. kickoff time, CBS SN. I'm going with the Thunder and Herd here. I've not watched Middle Tennessee, but I would never usually pick Middle Tennessee unless they was playing Middle Tennessee, I guess. So,
plus it ain't basketball.
It ain't basketball, right? Next up, Western Carolina at number 22, Liberty, 11 a.m. kickoff time, ESPNU. I guess I'll go Liberty here. Western Carolina is not that hot that I know of. I don't even know if they got a even good. I don't even know no one from their team. So, like we talked a while ago, Liberty's on this little run that they've got going on, and Freeze is just on an extension. So
I told you before we come on, this is kind of a great time to start it off. If you look at the offense, he's got 3 running backs that are over 300 yards, one of them 466 yards rushing, and his quarterback has 600. I think that's 663 yards rushing.
Jesus.
16 touchdowns, 16 total rushing touchdowns. Willis is just an amazing quarterback. When we mentioned Auburn coaching, he just signed that extension, and I know we talked about Gus, but there have been. I looked up Auburn football coaching candidates. Hugh Freeze's name keeps popping up. What do you think, Hugh Freeze? He's been in the SEC. He was successful. Yeah, he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar or whatever.
Yeah, he did. I don't know, man. It's almost to me that's almost like trading Gus for another Gus, almost. So
I'm glad you put it that way. I really am, because I'm not crazy about him in Auburn, but the fact that a couple fans on these, if you want to call them discussion boards or whatever.
Oh yeah, on all the ones I'm on, they're talking Hugh Freeze, Hugh Freeze. But they go through these trends, because first it was Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin was a big name they kept throwing out there.
Yeah.
And then it was Hugh Freeze, and they also threw Minnesota's coach. Well, that shit stopped when he started losing this year.
Yeah.
They quit talking that really, really fast. So I just laugh at him. I'm like, don't y'all remember when y'all were saying Minnesota's head coach? Well, yeah. I was like, yeah. This goes to show this is why you don't get to pick who gets hired.
That's a great point.
Yeah. Because of this very reason. So next up, we got Army and Tulane. It's got ESPN2 and ESPN Plus here. Some of these games might actually get swapped around with all the postpones and the cancellations and stuff like that. They might actually switch some of these games around on other channels too for people to see them. But
yeah,
I'm going Army here. Next game up, any other time would have been a pretty big game. It's not that big now because both teams have been losing some games. But you got Penn State and Nebraska. 11 a.m. kickoff time, FS1. Like I said, any other time, this is still a big game. It's still a rivalry game. They don't like each other. They never liked each other. But
0-5 between the two. Nobody's won a game yet. Somebody's has got to go.
This is a hard pick here. I actually like both teams. I mean,
I do too, honestly. You know, Penn State's lost, but they haven't been totally humiliated.
Well, I mean, their whole university's been humiliated.
Well,
but
I better use my words a little better. This season in football,
this season in football.
This is like a pick 'em. I don't know. I think I put Nebraska down just because. For them, this would be a statement win. Scott Frost is still getting players in there, and that's my reasoning. And I'm wrong every week, Tommy. You're the one that gets points. And
I'll go with Penn State in this one just because you went with Nebraska.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's a toss-up. It's a pick 'em game because both teams are struggling hard. So Next up, you got Wake Forest at North Carolina, 11 a.m. kickoff time, ACC Network. North Carolina is another team that was highly ranked, that was doing good at the beginning of the season. Now they're not even ranked. They've been dropped after all the losses. They've burnt me on picks a couple of times. I thought they were doing better than, I guess. Maybe just because they hadn't played nobody. Maybe that was the whole deal. But I still think they win this game.
I do too.
I think they can beat Wake Forest. Wake Forest is just not very deep. They haven't been deep in years. Well, how many good players they actually have? I think North Carolina's got a little bit more speed than Wake Forest also has. So, next up, TCU at West Virginia. I'm gonna let you pick this one first.
Seems like every time I pick against West Virginia, they at least kind of show up. So I'm gonna pick TCU. God, I hate saying that. Just trying to do the reverse psycho. I mean, we should have beat Texas. There were about 3 bad calls there. I'm not blaming it on the refs. I'm just saying there were some bad calls, and Texas is going to get that every time just because they're the conference darling.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've said this, but I hate being in the Big 12. I know I've said it every week for at least 5 years, but TCU's another team. Always a thorn in the side, so I hope we get it done.
You can send a letter to the SEC. We'll give them Vanderbilt and Kentucky for West Virginia.
Honest to God, we'd get beat worse, but at least we could go to some games. Ain't nobody going to Oklahoma from West Virginia or Texas. That's what I hate the most. They have to travel so far. They travel more than any team in college sports.
Yeah, that y'all should be like in the ACC or some shit like that.
The ACC wouldn't accept us because of their graduation and statistical scores or whatever. And I'm like, come on now. Come on, really?
But sometimes though, when someone joins a conference, though, it helps all that. That's what they're not understanding. Like, if they were to join SEC, West Virginia would probably get the shit smacked out of them for the first couple of years. But just because it's the SEC play, they would get better recruits, better players. Just because it's SEC,
all of their old rivals, all those old fun games, they're in the ACC, man, and they won't accept this. They're like, oh, let's go with Syracuse, which
Syracuse.
I don't know. I was trying to think of their last addition to the conference, and I really can't remember. But since the Big East broke up, I wish it was still a thing because we dominated.
Right. Next up, we got Vanderbilt at Kentucky. Another scrub versus scrub game almost. I guess you could kind of say both teams are struggling hard this year. Both of them have had their highlight moments. Kentucky's had a couple of highlight moments. Vanderbilt's had a couple. I'm still going Kentucky in this one. I think they got better players than Vanderbilt do.
Yeah.
Poor Vanderbilt. I always feel sorry for them every year. Well, I don't know why they just don't get the hell out of our conference and go join the SWAC or something, or the MAC or something, or go Conference USA or do something. Do something. Get the hell out of the SEC because you're just getting murdered here. Like, I don't get it.
Well, college football is the big dollars, but arguably Kentucky and basketball, and we'll get into that later, they're the big time money maker. So is Auburn, by the way. So is Auburn. I mean,
Auburn's. We'll talk about that in a minute. I don't want to get into that because I can get into that because I didn't see the pre-rankings. I'm kind of pissed.
Yeah, I'm happy, but yeah, I get you.
Next up, you got Illinois at Rutgers. 12:00 kickoff time. I will take Illinois in this one. It says to be announced. So this game might not actually be happening.
Hang on 1 second, Tommy. What is it? What? Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm going Rutgers just because Shiano is getting familiar with everything. So I'll go Rutgers.
Next up, South Alabama at number 25, Louisiana. What? The Raging Cajuns are number 25 in the nation? Who knew? I didn't know.
Yeah, they actually 25th ranked. I had them written down. Looking good, man, for everything. I'm going to go ahead and roll with them. I haven't got to see them much. Does it say what channel that's going to be on, Tom?
Yep, ESPN Plus.
So that's a big one if you guys haven't got to see the Cajuns yet.
You got Georgia State at Appalachian State, 1:30 kickoff time. ESPN Plus. This is another toss-up. Appalachian State, the hell with it. I'll go with App State in this one.
Their only loss is to Marshall this year, and Appalachian State's really a good football team. If we got time at the end, I want to ask a few, just one question. But App State, yeah, I'm a big App State fan in this one.
Sweet. Fresno State, Utah State. Who you going with?
By default, and because I have a friend in Fresno and around, I'm going Fresno.
I'll go Fresno also.
Because I don't know a ton about them this year.
Boss Man's team, UTSA and UTEP. I guess I'll go with UTSA.
I think we got to just for the El Presidente. It's we don't know much about UTEP, so I'll say UTSA.
I don't think I know about UTEP. I always like their logo. That's what I was.
That is pretty cool. The little are they the UTEP miners?
Yeah,
yeah,
the miners.
So, being here, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Next up, you got Notre Dame. This is telling me Notre Dame plays.
Yep, Notre Dame and Boston College play today. Now I didn't look close at the ranking. Hey, I didn't look too close at the ranking, but Boston College could. I'm not saying they're going to, but they've played close in every game. Clemson, obviously, they had a puncher's chance to win that game.
And
so
I don't think Notre Dame is really the number 2 team in the nation, in my opinion. So
they're really not. I think they got lucky. I think they got lucky last week. They got blessed that Lawrence wasn't playing, and here we are.
Next up, number 20, USC at Arizona, 2:30 kickoff time on Fox. Oh man, I'm going Arizona in this one. I think, yeah, I'll hit the button. I don't think USC is that good.
They're really not. They're really not. We'll see. We'll see after today what happens. But yeah, I mean, barely by the skin of their teeth last week is at the W. So we'll see.
Let's see. South Florida at Houston. 2:30 kickoff time. ESPN 2. I'll let you pick first because I have no clue.
As bad as I hate to, Dana, they've lost some games, obviously, but this is only Dana's second season. I think he's going to go ahead and get the W here. I don't know their season wins, like how many their win-loss record, but eventually he's going to put together a formidable team, and they're going to beat South Florida here.
Hell yeah. All right, we'll take a small commercial break. Let me find one over here for us. There we go. How about this one? That's the Paradigm Shelf. Catch it every Wednesday through pinfall. For those who don't know, if you go back and watch last week's show, we had Prince Nana on here, ROH's original. That was a lot of fun. Go check it out. He gave us a lot of insight about a lot of things. Pretty cool show, man.
Great show. I got to go back and rewatch. Got a little busy that night with other things in GWS. A new beautiful partnership that we have going on with pinfall and GWS, but we got a little busy. Everybody's so thrilled, man. You got Prince Nana on there, and I'm ready to go back and watch.
Yeah, he was a very, very nice guy, man. He's very cool.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows when you meet those type of guys who's had a little bit of fame or whatever, you just don't really know what kind of people they really are. But he was really, really nice, man. Really, really, really polite and stuff. So he was really, really cool with us.
That's really all you can ask for, man. Because sometimes they always ain't.
Yeah, sometimes I know a few of them. I ain't gonna mention no names. Scott Steiner, or kind of pricks. So. All right, we'll move it along. Let's see. What was the last game I did? South Florida and Houston, correct?
South Florida, Houston, yeah.
All right, we're at Texas State and Georgia Southern, 2:30 kickoff time. I'm going Georgia Southern here because.
Same. I think they just more of a football, Georgia and Texas football. It's kind of two of the cornerstones. Yep. If you throw Florida and Alabama in there, you got football covered. So
yeah, pretty much.
So I don't know much about either squad, but we'll see.
Next up, Louisville at Virginia, 2:30 kickoff time, ACC network. This game I might check out just because these two teams don't really like each other a whole lot.
Yeah.
That's football, basketball, whatever. I always know there's a little tension between Louisville and Virginia, just a tad. So,
yeah, I'm gonna go with Louisville just because they've came out a few more times against higher quality opponents, like who was it they beat? Was it Florida State? No, but they played Notre Dame very tight,
right?
And which UVA did pretty good against Miami. There's no real reasoning there, but I just look for Louisville to get it done.
Yeah, me too. I think Louisville ends up getting this one done. Next up, Colorado and Stanford. Stanford assholes let me down last week against Oregon. I really thought they would sneak in and get one over on Oregon, and that was like one of my upsets I picked.
Yeah.
I'm still going Stanford here. I like Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think Stanford's they've always had a little bit of an edge, I feel like. Because when you think Pac teams, it's usually Oregon and Stanford are usually the two teams that always stand out in my mind just because of recent years. Stanford's never been up to Oregon standards. Not in the past recent years they have it anyway, but Stanford's always that team is like usually right there behind Oregon somewhere. So
I really love the way that David Shaw coaches. It's kind of a throwback with some new. It's a perfect, I guess, West Coast style offense. I just wish, I don't know if it's an issue with recruiting because he's been there for a solid minute, and you wonder because Stanford also has the academics going on. Maybe they're having trouble recruiting or something, being in California, a few different issues. But I'd love to see him get back and watch the old Stanford play.
Yeah, me too.
I'm going to pick them also, by the way, because I ain't giving up on David Shaw yet.
The Pac's better when Stanford's good. It's better.
It really is.
Because usually, it's like I said, it's usually just Oregon dominate most people over there. Every once in a while, Washington, one of them would be kind of good, or Arizona or someone. But
yeah.
Next up, you got Hawaii at San Diego State. For some reason, I think this will be a good game. It usually is. Hawaii versus San Diego State usually is a good game every year, no matter what they're ranked. It's one of those. It's like, to me, it's like one of those kept secrets almost of college football sometimes. That no one really thinks about because they're big rank, but the fans themselves will tell you that this is a pretty big game for each team every year against each other.
Right.
They're not at Hawaii; they're at San Diego State. So I'm gonna go San Diego State in this one. Sorry, Hawaii.
I think more when you talk about San Diego State, they're more of a football program in the past. Hawaii's been great, but thank God they ain't having to travel to Hawaii because that big time difference and all that
Yep.
could really play in their favor today.
Yep, sure could. I got San Diego in this one. Next up, Baylor and Texas Tech. Big 12 game here. FSU won, 3 o'clock kickoff time. This, in the past, would have been a big game. This one is not that big of a game now. Baylor, both of them suck this year. I'll just be honest with you. I'll say it. They suck. It's one of them coin tosses. I'll go Texas Tech in this one. I think they're just better than Baylor.
The whole conference is a toss-up. I mean, this feels like they get the automatic bowl bid or the automatic, New Year's Six, but I'm starting to question, and we're in this conference, WVU. The American Athletic look a lot better when you look at it. Cincinnati, SMU, and they can say whatever, but I mean, we're looking at a 2-loss champion, hopefully, potentially a 3-loss. Texas is coming on up in the rankings, of course, where we heard that before.
Of course.
Oklahoma also. It's just silly, man. I'm getting sick of the Big 12, and I hope they both lose. But I'll pick Baylor.
Go Baylor. All right, next up, Northwestern at Purdue, 4 o'clock kickoff time. I think Purdue upset Northwestern here. I think they go in there and they slide. They're playing at Purdue, so I think Purdue pulls one over on them, knocks Northwestern out of the top 25.
This is actually a big game because both teams unbeaten. We'll get into the other big Big Ten battle in just a minute, I'm sure. But this is for the Wests, basically the lead of the West. And I really don't know who to pick because I just picked whoever wins the turnover battle because both play sloppy football. Three touchdowns and 3 picks, and then 5 touchdowns and 3 or 4 picks. It's just, it's unreal. But whoever wins that turnover battle, that's what it feels to me. But I'll go Purdue with you just because I think they're tougher this year. And, man, we'll see.
Next up, you got Arkansas at number 6 Florida. This is a big game, 6 o'clock kickoff time. The Pigs would love to upset Florida and knock them out of contention completely. If Florida gets another loss, they could be out. I still got Florida in this one though.
I mean, if you look at their schedule,
it's in the swamp also. So,
I mean, there you go, right there. It's Trask has. I wanted to read you some of these stats off real quick. I put is Florida for real at number 6. Their only loss came to A&M by 3, and that was earlier. Yep. And I believe that was at College Station, I believe, right?
I think so.
So, Kyle Trask, 1,815 yards, 22 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. That's basically
phenomenal.
That's a little over 7 touchdowns to 1 interception on the year. And I did not realize he was that good. And then Georgia, obviously, last week, they looked great as a team. That tight end you was talking about leads the way. He's got about 8 touchdowns for him.
Yeah, some people still don't want to accept them for being a real team. But when you go in there and you hang 40-something points on Kirby Smart's defense, I don't give a damn who you are. That defense, Georgia, is tough, man. They are tough, and they went in there and hung 40-something, 44 on them. So that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing.
I'll be the first to admit I didn't really believe in them or buy into them, but obviously they got Dan Mullen now, and the old Florida seems to be coming back. This is the season to do it, 2020, where
it's one of those things too that the SEC is better when Florida's good too, just like Pac is good when Stanford's good. You need that other team because I think people get tired of seeing just Georgia and Alabama being the dominant teams in the SEC. So you need that other team, and if Florida's usually that other team that you used to have to look out for all the time. Next up, you got Oregon and Washington State. Number 11, Oregon, that is, at Washington State. 6 o'clock kickoff time. This is not an upset. Oregon's going to beat Washington State, I believe. Oregon's just too deep. Washington State is, to me, they've not been much in a couple of years. They get those lucky wins here and there. So
the one year they controlled their own destiny, or however you want to call it, they did drop a game, and then they dropped another, and they wound up not playing in there.
I remember that was the year that Auburn played them, and they beat Auburn the first game of the season.
Yeah.
And Auburn was big ranked. I think Auburn was number 7 or 6 or something like that. And then we went there and lost to Washington. And everybody said, "Oh, Washington this, Washington that." Well, I could tell in that game that Auburn just played sloppy as hell. You could just tell Auburn had played sloppy. But
that's how Mike Leach. I hate knocking on him at Mississippi State, but he gets phenomenal offense. But I think he made a poor decision going to the SEC. Obviously,
yeah, that was stupid. I thought he would play somewhere where he could like a SWAC team or something where he could just dominate with that offense or something like that.
Well, even Wazoo, I mean, he was doing good with them, but like we said, he dropped maybe 3 games and knocked himself out. I actually have Washington State winning just because I wanna see. Oregon's not as good as we think. I don't think. Justin Herbert in the NFL looks like the real deal, and I expect Oregon to kill Washington State, but I'm going to pick against them each week until they lose. So I can say I told you so.
All righty then. I hear you. Next up, number 19, SMU at Tulsa, 6 o'clock kickoff time. I'm going to go with SMU in this one.
Mm-hmm.
You also got number 13. This is the shocker game that we thought we weren't going to get to see. Number 13, Wisconsin at Michigan, 6:30 kickoff time. Oh man, this is such a hard pick because even though Wisconsin is at number 13, they've laid out so much.
One game is all they've played. Yep, and it was against kind of I don't remember who, but not up to par.
It wasn't no one good. I think it was
It was some bottom of the barrel.
Was it Wake Forest or one of those type of teams or something like that? It was someone that they were barely middle of the road team. I know that they wasn't good.
I can't remember at the moment, but they, again, like you said, they've been out for they weren't even going to continue football. So that's my question. Does the Big Ten, what you've had postponements, you've had cancellations. And we already heard, with the cancellations, they're not coming back. That's why they cancel.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder, could we be playing like a Ohio State or Indiana against a Wisconsin who played 4 games or something like that? The Big Ten's weird to me, man. I can't get into it. I guess I'll pick Wisconsin just because Michigan's looked sloppy. But like you said, they've had more on-field time. So this is really a difficult one to call.
I'm gonna go with Michigan because I just think this is like that one game that Jim gets this year that he wasn't supposed to get or something like that. Because I think even a coach having a bad year, they always get like that 1 or 2 games that they weren't supposed to win. So
yeah,
Wisconsin laying out the way they have, I'll just go with Michigan. I mean, just because they've been playing, but it's still I have no idea who's going to win this game.
Now, if Wisconsin comes in, this is their second game on the year, and Michigan goes to basically 1-3.
You got to fire him.
I was going to say, is it time to pull the trigger? I think
you got to fire him after that, man. If he loses this game, you got to say that he's on the phone. You got to be on the hot seat. He's got to be. There's just no way he's not.
I think it's warm right now, but it could be blistering by the end of the day. Because I'm not going to be shocked either way. I really won't be. It's the Big Ten. They play so sloppy. I don't care.
It actually needs to be one of those firings where we see him lose. He goes to the locker room. 5 minutes later, it's breaking. They've let him go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The team hits the airplane and Jim Harbaugh does it.
Right.
Sorry, Lane Kiffin.
Sorry, Lane.
We ain't making fun of you, but we are.
Hey, that'd be a good hire for him.
I mean, maybe
after Lane.
Michigan somehow, I think Lloyd Carr sold his soul to the devil, and after that, they ain't gonna win no championship ever. I don't think
Yeah.
we're ever going to see him win again.
That's what you get. That's what you get for hiring Rich Rodriguez up there.
That's right.
Next up, I don't know why he ever left West Virginia. I remember when he left West Virginia and went over there, and I was like, "Are you stupid or something? Like, you got a winning program going on at West Virginia. Why would you leave that for the struggling Michigan? Because Michigan was horrible the year before they hired him. I just don't get it, man. I still don't understand it. I still can't wrap my what could have been is what I always think about that situation.
He wanted the money. He wanted the prestigious job, and he couldn't finish it off in his home state at his alma mater. He gave up in the year LSU. Was that 06 or 07? Les Miles.
I think it was 6. Might have been 6.
That was the year we were actually supposed to play in that national championship, and Rich cashed out. People think he already had the deal in place. The year before, he had signed with Alabama, and they're like, "What the hell are we doing? We gotta get rid of him before And they were basically like, "No, got Saban."
Yeah,
we had Rich for one more year and almost went to a national championship, and he gave up against, of all teams, Pitt. And that's when I first realized I had blood pressure problems.
Oh, goodness. Next up, Florida State, North Carolina State. I'm still going to go Florida State with this one. I know Florida State's been struggling, but they still should win this game over the North Carolina State. They might struggle, but you're muted.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the same thing because we love Will on this show. So
yeah, I'll take Florida State for Will.
That's why.
Next up, South Carolina at Ole Miss, 6:30 kickoff time. I got Ole Miss in this one just because I think South Carolina. Honestly, there's big rumors that Muschamp might be out the door. There's a lot of big rumors about it. So next up,
it wouldn't shock me.
It would not me. I'm actually shocked they let him stay this last year, and they didn't get rid of him at the end of last year. Next up, UNLV at San Jose State, 9:30 kickoff time, FS2. I'm gonna go UNLV in this one.
Yeah, that's fair enough because I don't know a ton about. Actually, a Wyoming County, West Virginia native. I think he's Wyoming. It could be Mingo. Garen Justice is he's actually at Miami, but he was UNLV's, I believe, head coach for a time there. Either head coach or offensive coordinator. He's now a Miami offensive line coach.
Next up, you got Oregon State at Washington. That'll be the last game on the schedule. 10 o'clock kickoff time. It is a late one, FS1. Shit. I'm going to go Washington in this one.
Same. I just think they had a nice little roster turnover from 2 years ago. They just got to get the feel of it.
All right, and we are going to take our last commercial break as soon as I find it, because I have to flip over here, guys. Give me 1 second.
The Seven Nation Army couldn't hold me back. They're gonna rip it off, taking their time right behind my back. And I'm talking to myself at night, 'cause I can't forget. Oh, back and forth through my mind, I'm a cigarette. And the message coming from my eyes says leave it alone.
That is the Revolution Promo Show. It will be live tomorrow through Pinfall at 1 o'clock Central Time. I'll be on commentary. Joining me will be a special guest. Some people know him as Patrick Shane, but he'll be going by a different name. You'll find out that name tomorrow. Also,
Excited to watch, man.
you got Josh, who's also going live early to do the behind the mic, the sit-down interviews with a couple of the promo stars, and he'll also be live with us along with the voice of the Revolution, which is Richard Burkhead. I love Richard. Richard's awesome, man.
He is. He's got some good ideas, I'll say. I love him to death, man. Richard's something.
Yeah, he is, man. He's put a lot of work. He's helped us put a lot of work into it, and I think it's going to be a kick-ass show. I've seen everyone's promos, and it's going to be fire, man. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
It looks great just from the E-Fed. I guess I would be what you call a casual, but to me, it looks fire so far. It looks great.
Yes. Also, big announcements coming tomorrow. Also on the show for future things. Just talk about the games that we did not end up having. Alabama and LSU is postponed. Ohio State and Maryland is canceled, so that means that game will not end up happening.
Mm-hmm.
Texas A&M and Tennessee is postponed. Georgia and Missouri postponed. Coastal Carolina and Troy postponed. Auburn and Mississippi State is postponed. God, between the bye weeks and the 2 weeks of not having football, I'm about to go crazy.
It's
like I hope maybe we can play next week. Next up, you got Gardner Webb and Charlotte is canceled, and North Texas and UAB is canceled. Rice and Louisiana Tech is postponed. Memphis and Navy is postponed. Pittsburgh and Georgia Tech is postponed. Air Force and Wyoming is canceled. California and Arizona State is canceled. Utah and UCLA is canceled. And the last game, UCLA Monroe and Arkansas State is postponed. So if they say cancel on them, they're probably not going to happen. For postpone means they'll probably just play at a later date. So some of those games I hope happen because there's so many. There's so many good games. I mean, like the Texas A&M and Tennessee, the Alabama and LSU game, and Auburn and Mississippi State. Those are games I was kind of looking forward to. And the big one, of course, Coastal Carolina.
Honestly, it is. Because I wonder if this hurts them in the rankings not being able to play because that's a cancellation, correct?
Yes.
Or is it?
It's postponed.
So postponed. So hopefully they do get to make it up. But here, I had a question, and this goes for Cincinnati. It goes for my Thundering Herd. It goes for Coastal Carolina. It goes for Liberty. Liberty plays Coastal Carolina to close the season out, I believe. Mm-hmm. What is it going to take for these teams to not necessarily reach a playoff, because that's not going to happen? But like you mentioned, Texas A&M, man, they ain't even playing for nothing. They're playing for pride and a ranking right now. So why have them in the 5 hole? I get why they're there, but why can't Cincinnati move up?
Yeah, I get that too. I've never got, to me, if you're –
I get it and I don't. Does that make sense? I know why.
I've talked about it too before because I don't like the fact that if you're on probation that you're still getting a ranking beside you because you're taking someone's spot and you can't go to nothing anyway. You can't even go to a shitty bowl game. So what is the point of putting you at number 5?
I do not get it. Cincinnati actually moved back after a dominating performance last week. Like I said, I get it. The whole, we're in the SEC or we're in the ACC with Clemson or whoever. But if you're winning, Tommy, you made a great point. We talked off camera about what would be cool, what would be great for college football.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically all these conference champions getting a shot, just like in NCAA basketball. That's the NCAA men's basketball and women's, by the way, has the best playoff format in all of sports, I believe, because everybody gets a shot.
Right. Because, I mean, like I had said, I think they should just let whoever wins their conference go. You know what I mean? I mean, it don't make a damn how bad their conference is. They still let them go because then you got to win out. I mean, then no one can really gripe. I mean, like honestly, when it comes down to it, all you got to do is win your conference and you go to a playoff.
Yeah.
Then you have to play it. Then you have to play your way through. Then no team like a Central Florida could gripe or anything like that. So I don't know why they don't do that. It would just make more sense. I mean, these kids got to play longer games when if they make it to the NFL anyway.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So the whole tacking more games on. At most, if you make it all the way, it would be maybe a 16 or 18 game season. I mean, we'd have to look at it more. But if you're going to go all the way, finish it off, there's a 16-week season in the NFL, and then if you're lucky enough, you either play 20, which they actually threw a wrench in it this year in playoffs, but hopefully you play 20 games. So if you play 18 games in a college football season, what's it matter? Like you said, plus there's enough time off there. You know, obviously you're going to be hurting. Nobody plays football 100%. You're always hurting, but this would be the best way for everyone, like a Marshall Thundering Herd, like the Cincinnati fans. Cincinnati could get it done this year potentially. I ain't saying they're going to, because they're probably not even going to make the playoff. But in this year of 2020, where the Big Ten is so, on and off, and by what I mean by that, off schedule, off keel, Cincinnati can't make it. I don't know. I just don't get it, man.
Right.
You can't put a 7-win team in the playoff and have Cincinnati kicking tail all year and not making it.
Speaking of college basketball, as we was talking earlier, me and Justin is probably going to do college basketball this year also for this podcast. Just go over the top 10 in college basketball. You got Gonzaga at number 1. This is the AP top 25. This is how they got them ranked.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not agree with a lot of it. But number 1, they got Gonzaga. Number 2, they got Baylor. Number 3, they got Villanova. 4, Virginia. 5, Ohio. 6, Kansas. 7, Wisconsin. 8, Illinois. 9 is Duke. And number 10 is Kentucky. Let me just point out that Auburn is not even in the top 25, which is a freaking joke. It's killer as the recruiting class and killer year that they've had. They got Creighton at number 11, Tennessee at number 12, Michigan State at 13, Texas Tech at 14, West Virginia at 15, North Carolina at 16, Houston at 17, Arizona State at 18, Texas at 19, Oregon at 20. I don't know about that. 21 is Florida State. 22 is UCLA. 23 is Ohio State. 24 is Rutgers, and Michigan rounds out the top 25. I think Auburn could be somewhere in there. I don't get why.
They should be. They had a great, recruiting class. I can't name the guys right now, but you guys are.
I know they grabbed the number 1 5-star basketball player, I think, out of Oklahoma or something like that. And they grabbed the number 1 5-star player out of Georgia. And they had like one that was from up north. He was a 5-star. They had a killer-ass recruiting class. Bruce Pearl got a lot of good players this year.
I was going to say, I think there's 4 guys. And Tommy, if you think I'm bad at college football, I love college basketball coaches. Bruce Pearl is one I absolutely adore. I think Tennessee messed up. I don't care if he cheated or not. You got to, or whatever happened there, money. These guys should be getting paid first and foremost. Yeah. I mean, that's the key issue there.
I ain't gonna lie, I was on the edge. I kind of was like, when they hired him, I was like, I know Bruce Pearl was a good coach, but I was like, he's gonna be caught with that hand in the cookie jar before. You know what I mean? Like, do we really want him here? Because Auburn's basketball program is already failing. Like it's already in shambles. We sucked. We ain't been good in basketball in years.
Right.
And he's turned it around. He's not been caught doing nothing. And when the NCAA catches you doing something once, they're all over your ass, watching you, everything you do. So
for whatever reason, though, Sean Miller can get by with murder at Arizona. That boy has been caught every which way but loose, and he's still coaching somehow.
I don't
and they're
care.
terrible.
Nick Saban buys every one of his players a new car every year. I don't give a damn what they say. Every time I swear, man, every time someone signs with Alabama, the next thing you know, they're posting the new Cadillac. And he owns a Cadillac store.
Isn't it I don't know the name. Is it Saban's Cadillac? I don't know.
It's Saban Chevrolet or something like that or whatever, So I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying,
Now I'm not for giving them a new ride, but I do agree with pay because some of these guys, there's only 60 NBA draft picks.
Right, and it's not even that; it's the fact what people don't understand is that scholarships only pay for so much. Scholarships don't pay for your underwear, don't pay for your socks, they don't pay for you. If you're out, if they're out with their friends, they feed them on campus, but it don't pay for nothing outside of that one meal that they give them. You know what I mean? So they're out with their buddies off campus. How are they supposed to buy food while they're out with their friends? And stuff like that?
Exactly. And a coach,
I think it needs to be one set amount. That's what I said. Everybody said, "Oh, well, the quarterback should make more than the." No. It needs to be one set amount for every athletic student. It's just something a little bit extra to give them. Because if you start putting numbers like this quarterback should make more and this quarterback should make more, or this, then you screwed the whole system up because it's not fair that some quarterback gets to walk into college and gets to eat better or gets to live better.
I agree totally.
Than the offensive lineman who's working just as hard as the quarterback, who has to show up every day just like the quarterback. It needs to all just be one equal, fair amount for everyone to get every month. So
you're right. I agree totally because one of my favorite 30 for 30s, the Fab Five, talked about Jalen Rose.
Yep. I love that documentary, man.
I do too. Not a big fan of Michigan, but I will say that's one of my favorites. He talked about getting a pizza and eating mayonnaise sandwiches. That's one of the lines that stick with me the most. Yep. Him being a top 25 player in the country on one of the greatest basketball teams ever that didn't win a national championship, and they're living like I hate to say it, but they're living like a third world country. Some of them.
Yeah. Like he said, it was clear in the huddle that we had no more timeouts. He's like, I didn't hear no one say we didn't have no more timeouts. Poor Chris Webber, man.
I know. That's all we could say.
That's okay, though, because he went on to have a kick-ass NBA career.
Oh, yeah, he did.
So it don't matter. It's all laughing point now, but, yeah, that was definitely – I see where they're coming from. Someone comes offers you some money, I mean, and you're in college and you're starving, there's a good chance you're going to jump on that.
Yeah,
especially when you already come from being poor anyway,
Yeah.
So, I know it don't really make no sense I get where they're coming from also with the fact that you're pretty much making money off their name and they're not seeing a dime of it. Like, not a dime. They're literally starving to death, but you're making money off their name. So it is kind of
that's another
to tell.
That's a whole nother can of worms with the whole NCAA game.
Yeah. We all know that the NCAA is some of the most shadiest, corrupt people on. We all know that Saban's in their back pocket. Been in their back pocket forever, man. Tell me, that man gets away with everything.
See,
his players do something. He's like, I'll just punish them and set them out a half a quarter. They're like, okay, Saban.
I'll say the same thing about Urban Meyer because you obviously know my takes on Urban. Not many people do. Urban faking heart attacks on the sideline when he goes down by 3. Sorry if Urban's family is watching. I'm sorry, but he faked it.
It's all right. He's just speaking truth. Well, that's
all
what
it is.
All right, guys, that's about round it up for your day, for your college football day. We're gonna go ahead and get off here. I'm about ready to go find me some games, pick out what games we're gonna watch for the day. There's a bunch of good ones. So, don't forget tomorrow, 1:00 Central Time, Revolution.
Very excited.
We're doing something that no other promo groups are doing between the Unity and running a live stream show. I think we got something special going on over there. If you would like to join the Revolution page. Pay-per-views for that show will only be brought to you through Pinfall Productions. It's the only way you can watch it, so you need to go over and like the YouTube page. All right, guys. Well, that's going to round us up. Thank you, Justin, for being on another Saturday. We'll see you next Saturday, and y'all have a kick-ass day.
Thank you, sir, Tommy. See you guys.
See you.